Welcome to Orion Philosophy, where we explore, discuss and dissect areas of practical philosophy for use in everyday life. It is not the man who has little, but he who desires more that is poor. Today we're going to be going through a topic requested by the community. Hopefully this applies to quite a few of you and you can get some value from it. Generally for these kind of videos I'll keep the names of the people suggesting topics out of the video, purely for the reason that they might be personal. So I'll only be posting the topic for discussion. If you personally have something you want covered in future videos, let me know in the comments below and I'll add it to the list. You've already provided loads of great ideas so far, so please do keep them coming. And as a thank you for supporting the channel, I'll be giving members priority for suggesting topics to cover. So today we're going to be exploring how Stoics deal with material wealth. Not only because materialism has some really clear direction in Stoic philosophy, but also because it's still really relevant for us today. Our Western culture pushes materialism on almost all of us, and it's likely to continue to do so because advertisers need to create desire in their audience to be able to sell us things. So I think this is a really good subject to cover. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus said, "Wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants." I'm going to split this discussion down into two parts. Firstly, we'll look at whether materialism is good or bad in and of itself. Then we'll have a look at how we can approach it and what we can do to prevent us being drawn into a materialistic way of life. A way of life in which we prioritize money and things over things like our values, our relationships, and our well-being. So is materialism good or bad? The Stoics did vary a little bit on this, but in general materialism itself was seen as neither good nor bad. The Stoic philosopher Musonius Rufus encouraged that luxurious living must be avoided completely. However, Seneca argued that money and wealth was okay to obtain, provided that it didn't harm anyone in the process, or cause us to sacrifice our values and virtue. Seneca also argued that it is okay to enjoy your wealth, so long as we don't become attached to it. All the way back in ancient Rome, he wrote the following: "It matters little whether a house be built of turf, or of variously coloured imported marble. Understand that a man is sheltered just as well by a thatch as by a roof of gold." For the Stoics, money and wealth is neither good nor bad. Owning stuff is neither good nor bad. And being rich with these things is neither good nor bad. These things to the Stoics are neutral. The goodness and badness comes in how we use and perceive them. To help illustrate this, I'll use a simple analogy of a doctor. A doctor whose life's passion and ambition is to help the health of as many people as possible will very likely become a good doctor. And in being a good doctor, they may well make a lot of money. In this case, the money is a byproduct of a life in the pursuit of a worthy goal, a goal which will ultimately benefit the people around them. In this case, the money is neither good nor bad. It remains neutral. However, a different doctor may be motivated by money above all else. This could lead them to over-prescribing medicine, performing procedures that aren't necessary, and generally putting their own desire for wealth over the well-being of those in their care. In this case, the money is no longer neutral. It has become negative. It's caused a negative impact not only on the integrity of the doctor, but the people in their care. This concept can be applied to our own lives. When material wealth shifts from becoming a byproduct of our work and the value we add, and instead becomes the ultimate target of our effort, it risks a shift from being neutral to being negative. Both money and wealth have the ability to cause people to put aside their values, their beliefs, and their integrity. This is part of the reason why it can shift from being neutral to being negative quite quickly, if we're not consciously aware of it. Similarly, the attachment to wealth can cause us to feel jealousy, anger, anxiety, mistrust, and a host of other emotions that can quickly take away our peace of mind. The Stoics warned against attachment to material possessions because they are ultimately outside the reach of our control. Our wealth can be taken from us, and because it can be taken, it is never truly ours. Moreover, when we place our peace of mind and well-being in things that are outside the reach of our control, they become beholden to chance, and by extension, fragile. As a general guide to life, the Stoics promoted a balanced approach to money and possessions. There's no real value in forcing yourself to live in abject poverty or an ascetic lifestyle. However, when you find yourself with enough, it's unlikely that having much more will make you any happier. In fact, in all likelihood, the search for more will lead to a life of being unsatisfied with what we have. living in constant pursuit of what we don't have. Often when we do have enough, we can increase our well-being far more as a result of gratitude for what we have than we can with trying to fill our lives with as much as possible. This path of constantly trying to fill an expanding bucket is called the hedonic treadmill for a reason. As soon as we get the thing we're aiming for, after some time that thing will no longer provide enjoyment, and we'll aim for something else, always wanting more and never being happy with what we have. To help serve as a guide for how to act, the Stoics had 4 core virtues that can be called upon when we're unsure whether or not we're on the right path. These virtues are wisdom, temperance, justice, and courage. I'll apply each of these to materialism to explain how they can help us decide whether or not materialism in our own lives is neutral or has started to become negative. If we start with wisdom, this is generally the ability to view the world clearly, putting aside our biases, judgments, perceptions, and prejudice, and trying to see the world as it is, not clouded by what we think it should be or what we'd like to see. Specifically in the case of materialism, wisdom can be used to help us decide if we have enough, or if we've fallen into the trap of wanting more and more. Wisdom can also help us understand if the way we view money and wealth is having a negative impact on our goals, connections, and well-being, or if we have a healthy relationship with it. This can be done through things like meditation and reflection. And if we're open and honest with ourselves, we're all probably capable of finding out if we're on the treadmill or not, whether we sacrifice our integrity or not, and whether we are grateful or not for what we do have. Temperance is our ability to moderate our behavior. It's the discipline to say no when we don't need an extra donut, to choose salad over pizza, decide not to have another beer, and generally prevent overindulgence, laziness, sloth, and behaviors that seem at the time attractive and alluring, but can be counterproductive or even destructive. It's not hard to see how temperance fits in with materialism. Basically, we don't want to be greedy and fill our lives with stuff because we find it attractive at the time. Instead, we should look to create a healthy discipline for moderation. As Seneca said, there's no harm in treating ourselves every now and then, or doing the things that we enjoy. But we all have that line at which we cross into overindulgence. So ultimately, it's all about balance. Justice as a Stoic virtue is the ability to act in a way that's beneficial to the group and to society at large. It is the ability to act in this way despite external pressures not to. If we think back to the example of the doctor who was motivated by money, they chose the pull of money over the choice to act in the common good, and in doing so they harmed the people around them. In the context of materialism, when we feel that draw of money, wealth, and stuff pulling us in a direction that could potentially have a negative impact on other people, this is the line, if we're not careful, where the neutrality of money begins to slip away into negativity. And finally, we have courage, the ability to do the right thing and act in alignment with our values despite pressures not to. In the context of materialism, this is closely bound for the explanation of justice. Money famously has the ability to cause people to disregard their own integrity. Money's promise of wealth and the lifestyle changes that come with it are difficult things to resist when the sum is huge. However, once your values are sold, they are very difficult to get back. To end, I'll leave you with the words of Socrates. We should eat to live, not live to eat.